Do you struggle with consistency? Well, if you're 95% of Overwatch players, the answer is probably yes. The question is why, and why does it matter so much? This is a conversation recently I had with a student of mine discussing why people fall into the trap of consistency and what you can actually do about it. If you played enough Overwatch, this may apply to you too. I thought this was important not only because this will impact how you play in ranked, but may impact how you live your life as well. As always, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube, check me out on Twitch, and enjoy the video.
So when it goes badly with Overwatch, like you talked about a good day, I think we talked a little bit about a day, but give it to me one more time. How does it usually go? Bad day, you lose your endurance, what happened?
It feels like my goals are kind of just a pipe dream. And
Like, give me an example
like
of one of your goals.
hit GM1 in the new ranking system.
Why do you feel like it's a pipe dream?
My inconsistency that I experience around the Master 3 rank, it makes me feel like there's no way I could be consistent around the GM2 rank, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like that belief or that perception gets into my nervous system, and then the whole body just starts to kind of give up, and it's like, oh, well, we're just kind of wasting our time here, aren't we?
You're aiming for consistency as part of the goal, right? You described it like sometimes you play like you're smurfing, sometimes you're not. And you feel like once I get a better handle of my consistency, then in general, I'll be able to play at like this level. But I don't deserve, like I'm struggling with consistency now. If I got into a GM2 lobby with this level of play at the floor, my goodness, how bad would I be? Is that kind of like the impression?
Yeah, just to the extent where it's like it feels like I could never keep it if I managed to get there.
Okay. So stop trying to keep it. I'm gonna give you some advice. Stop trying to be consistent. Because you can't. It's impossible to be consistent. In fact, I'm dying today because I had a conversation with I think it was a diamond or plat player just yesterday, and he was talking about how I wish I was more consistent like the higher ranked players. And I had to tell him that I have the consistency problem brought up significantly more by top 500 plus players in Overwatch, like global players and contenders players that I've worked with. Consistency was a much bigger concern. But you see what I'm saying, right? Like that's just how it goes. That's just part of human nature.
Nobody can get it,
right? And the problem is not even just the consistency as well. Let me describe to you what consistency really is. Consistency is generally relatively small until you start to perceive and then try to control it, and then it exacerbates. The analogy I always like to bring up is inconsistency with mechanics, right? Where mechanics is really a two-way street. It's not just you. It's the other person that has control of it as well. So if you miss a shot because somebody has a great strafe, you feel like your aim was bad. But if you hit a shot because their movement was bad, you feel like you hit a great shot, even if actually it wasn't that hard, they're just bad. But the problem is your perception is what snowballs you. Because if you're confident that, oh, I'm playing well mechanically, not realizing that the person you're playing versus is terrible at movement, then you're more likely to continue to hit shots. And the reason why that's the case is not because confidence is this magic pill that makes you play better. Confidence is a magic pill because it makes you think less and get less in your head about what you're doing and allows you to act faster. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And this is not just about mechanics. This is every single aspect. You want to be thinking, but you don't want to be overthinking, right? There's a reason why they call it overthinking. You're thinking too much, and then that causes you to slow down, which then causes you to play worse. Let me give you an example. You take a flank as Reaper, okay? It's a good flank. Enemy Roadhog is stream sniping or has a sixth sense, or maybe you make one footstep noise, or maybe he's just on Adderall today, okay?
Yeah.
And he turns a corner and he just, there's no, how did he, what? And so what happens? Oh man, that was a bad flank, bro. Now we lose the first point. And you see what I'm saying, right? It snowballs.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality of the situation is that it's total luck, total chance that happened in the first place. He might have 99% of the time, most people would forget that you're there and you'll pop off and then you're creating a good day. So what I want you to understand is that a large portion of what initially will feel like inconsistency is really not inconsistency at all. It's just your perception. And then what ends up happening is you try to fix that problem and you just make it worse. Because what you're trying to do is too complicated of a skill for you to be actively, cognitively controlling it at all times. It'd be like this. Let me give you a good analogy. You ever, do you remember, did you take driver's ed as a teenager?
Yeah, a little.
Did you have a good driver's ed instructor?
Yeah.
Like when you're driving? How would you describe a driver's ed instructor?
Honestly, pretty laid back.
Okay. I want you to just picture that in your brain. Now I want you to remember the first time that you drove with your parents. Everyone's experience is like that, right? Everyone's good driver's ed instructor is weirdly all laid back. Like they've done like a lot of marijuana prior to the session, right? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is?
Because they don't stress out the driver too much.
That's it. Because what you driving is complicated enough as it is. You can't micromanage driving, right? You need to just let it happen, and when in an emergency, tap the brake. And then your parents get in there, and your parents respectfully are idiots. It's okay, mine were too. And so my parents to my parents, and so on, right? And what do they try to do? Slow down.
They try to
take the turns off. Use your blinker, right? And then what ends up happening? I have a distinct memory of. I remember when I was a teenager, I pulled over into a restaurant parking lot, and I got out of the driver's seat, and I said, "Dad, I'm not driving anymore. I'm done." I love my dad. I have a great relationship. My dad is amazing, but when it came to the backseat driving thing, I just could not do it. He drove me insane. You are doing that to yourself.
Yeah.
You're doing that to yourself because what's happening is that, like, let's say that you hit a pothole while you're driving. Is that your fault? No, it's just a pothole, right? But your passenger is freaking out. Wow! Every time you drive, dude, like, slow down. And then all of a sudden, now they're watching you. And they're critiquing your braking and your blinker usage and your lane usage and acceleration, your speed, and you're getting too close, you're getting too far, no, we're on the right. And then now, how does that make you feel? How do you think you drive now? Terribly. Because you're overthinking everything and you're irritated and you're emotional. And so then it makes it snowball. So you need to stop trying to micromanage your play.
Yeah.
That's why when we practice things, when you practice something, how do you practice? What do you practice in general? Like just generally speaking.
General practice?
Yeah. Just one thing at a time, right? One thing at a time.
Yeah.
Why? Because if you try to apply 3 or 4 skills at the same time, it just wouldn't work. So what you do is you go, hey, it would be, here's the equivalent, okay? Let's say that you have a backseat driver. Let's say that you were trying to improve your driving skills. A good backseat driver would be something like, hey, remember, try and stay right in the middle of your lane. Try and stay right in the middle of your lane. Okay. Every like 5-10 minutes, remember, stay right in the middle of your lane. Try and, they wouldn't elaborate. They wouldn't critique you. They wouldn't say it more often when you're not doing it. They would just keep reminding you. That's it. Remember, stay right in the middle of the lane. Nice job. Nice job. Stay right in the middle of your lane. Super simple. Nothing complicated. You are thinking a little bit, of course, but only a teeny bit. Only a teeny bit. And if you start to play poorly or you start to screw up the lane, do you think that they start yelling and start saying, stay right in the middle of your lane? No. Why do they need to remind you? You're already aware that that's what you need to be doing. Why are you continuing to critique yourself?
Yeah, that's a great point.
So when you go into a practice session, you're playing Reaper, and you're working on your off angles, and you take an off angle and it doesn't work. Don't go, work on your off angles. No, just be like, oh, okay, work on your off angles again. That's it.
Right.
You need to be a good backseat driver to yourself. And you need to stop critiquing yourself for inconsistency, which you don't really have any control over, because A, it's either physiological, which means that you can't control it, right? Maybe you just wake up really tired. Like, what can you do about that? Or more likely, it's just total luck, total chance. And you actually aren't nearly as inconsistent as you think you are, but you just have a tendency to always make it worse because you like to point out random chance of a good shot or a bad flank or a good flank and treat that like that's going to be, this is going to be one of those days. No, it's not, you jackass. Get out of your own way, And I think that's what's making this game feel super unfun for you too. Because in the days where you wake up at the wrong side of the bed or you get just a tiny bit unlucky, you then start to abuse yourself and it just makes the entire process just feel miserable.
Story of my life.
Yeah. So here's what I encourage you to do. Get out of your own way, continue to think and practice one thing, but stop treating the inconsistency like it's something that you need to overcome. It's not. Stop trying to overcome it. Just play the game. Be simple with your approaches. And then if you get into a series of games, and you're really not having fun playing, and it's really a chore, take a break, take a walk for 5 seconds, 5 minutes, whatever. Come back and try one more game. And if you're still having a miserable time, then stop. You're done. I don't care if it's your third game, you're done.